Hello, welcome to this brainstorming session, I guess, podcast. It is June 28th, 2026. I am Allie with amariespeaks, and I'm going to attempt to talk around a topic that I've mentioned a couple of different times over the last year and a half or so, perhaps longer. And by no means am I, a pioneer of this. It's a huge topic that everyone talks about, of course, Christ consciousness. But what I wanted to kind of speak about, my own perspective and understanding a little, it's, nothing that's set in stone either. It's just something to kick around the ball. What if this was true? Kind of thing. I like to ponder on these kind of things with myself sometimes. So I thought about voicing it and sharing it and seeing where this goes. So yeah. What if it were true for just a minute? This is of course set in its own little subsection of imagination. I'm not trying to pin it to the wall and say forever true is a statement. I'm not. I just want to explore it as if, and talk for a minute as if it were so. So I'm going to set some parameters, kind of. If this experience of this world, in this world I mean like the human experience, man's experience of the world, mine, yours, everyone here, what if it were like a simulation? So following the standard kind of theoretical presumptions that go along with simulation theory, right? And I'm not going to really talk too much about, well, what I'm going to say about before and the after, and the setting of the who makes the simulation and in what world does that run? Who's in there? That world, right? What if, we say for a minute that world contains God the Father and His Son, and that this experience of what we are a part of, the creation that we are a part of, is a birthing, a choice. It is by consequence created from and built from and made from choices made in that world where the Father and the Son live together. And that place, I believe, is fueled by love, true unconditional love, not just feelings of like or affinity or whatever, but true light, love, and light, 360-degree light, which is, honors truth and allows a deeper, different sight. And also, there isn't this exploration of separation. So the world that I think is here is this exploration of manyness, and is caused by the separation and choice, of course, of sort of the Son to step into the simulation and see what would happen if I choose my own way. And sort of is unthinkable. It's sort of like totally different than the unity, harmony, and wholeness that we could imagine. We have to imagine, actually, because we don't, it's not, I don't think it's completely understandable at a capacity, the density dimensions that we live in, honestly. It's something grander and greater, and we here in this construct don't have a point of relativity to sort of gauge and even understand what we think we catch glimpses of and we think we see so far off, like the stars and planets and things, we don't have a clue, I don't think. And we're not meant to at the, at such a defined level. These are things that are meant to be grasped through the soul, not intellectually, and certainly not physically. Last is physically, and intellectual happens as a layering, but the spirit, the soul layer of it is supposed to be the loudest and the strongest. But unfortunately, I think in the simulation, the choices of the model that this would be a part of, right, it seems to be that's the last thing as a choice. So let me just say that I think kind of the simulation setup, whether it's been sort of quote-unquote hijacked by more negatively aligned structurings like archons, or whether that's built into the structures of some architecture of certain places and spaces in the simulation, or it's in the entire simulation. Couldn't say. But very aware that it's present in our experience here. Now, my point being to set this all up and to say is that, so if we have one Father and one Son in before and after, and the separation simulation is created, the Son is choosing to do something different from the Father, wants to do things away from his Father, right? Wants to kind of create his own space of what he would do his way. Classically, the child's energy is like that. It's exploratory, it's independent and unique, and yes, they're of the same, but there's still a quality of differentness. So let's say for the setup, of course, and in this idea, the simulation's created in order to have a space to explore differentness than what's the original God's will, the unity and love and harmonious wholeness, and being able to explore that. And God is, the Father is fully aware and encouraging and open with this, and saying, go for it, explore it to the fullest, to 99% of tile as you have to come back around full circle to see that mine was the best of all to begin with. You have your free reign, and tire yourself out. See, as long as you need to go until you feel confirmation of that the other paths out there were not as best, as not as great, not as good as this unifying wholeness that we had before, or heaven, or something. I'm not too strict, and I'm not trying to like stick these things into the wall forever either, but this is the premise, at least. So that's kind of the setup of the simulation, right? And the reasoning behind it, and then also what kind of the potentials and purposes of what happens within the simulation. It's sort of choosing the different choices and exploring the gauge, and all the things. If it could be, try it out. If you have a desire for it, seek it. If it's a question or a curiosity, then define it. Find truth within it. Find yourself within it. And perhaps, anyway, so the thing is with this, the simulation and the getting into it, is that the one Son goes into simulation where his absolute infinity, the personality that he is, the energy that he represents as the begotten Son, the wholeness of the reflection of God that he is, right, is a reflection of infinity, so all of these, infinite fractals, well, not fractal yet, these facets, these sort of infinite angles of what the sphere of him was. Imagine how many angles and degrees are to be calculated in a circle or a sphere, right? So having the potential of all of those, every angle and everything that can be created within the sphere, every shape that can be birthed out of it, right? It's like he, the Son, contains them all. And every single one of them is just as much a part of him as every other angle and shape and everything. So when it gets into the simulation, all of those seemingly infinite angles would be explorable on a finite scale. So basic example of this kind of, in a real world simulation, what I'm saying, real world example, excuse me, not simulation, but in the simulation, how would that, we could explore this example, say, with the classic computer game The Sims, right, with each of these sort of little humans in there, and they each have their own personality. Now, if we say Jesus is all personalities, all archetypes, all angles of being, then each one of those, kind of, each personality would have its own sacred boundary around it to be explorable in this sort of finite capacity and reflection of one angle of him, right? So every different version would be sort of like a Sims character and playable by him. And since the Son and the Father live outside of this construct of time that happens inside the simulation, he'd have no problem playing every character and being there, you know? And especially, you know, of course, if we leave to mystery and to wonder, just in that they could, you know, and would probably have different technologies than we're even aware of, and so it wouldn't be a question of like analytical logistics about how processes of functions of computers would even work to create a simulation like that. We couldn't even design a computer in this construct that could even reflect the type of quote-unquote computer that might be in this before and after space with the Father and Son that I'm talking about. So, you know, no need to sort of pick at threads or loose ends and stuff. We could just imagine that it would be like, it could be like that maybe. So if we are the simulation, if we are get to play, and we are each one of the people here, and you know, it's like it's amazing to me how seeing the Son, even Jesus, or even anyone, all of us, each one of us, as a needed tile in the mosaic of the whole character and of the whole lesson and of the whole being of, you know, Christ is. Like I had mentioned at the start about being Christ consciousness, it is, you know, the truth to be anointed with and to be knowing and understanding. How better to do that than to have to explore every version of person, of situation, of being the witness, being the accuser, being the victim, being the abuser, or just right. But being every single one of these people, you know, to the fullest, to absolute exhaustion, to the point where it's every angle of a lesson is learned so directly, you know, and how else could it be learned like that? It couldn't be learned any more directly than having it happen to you, because for some reason we don't learn unless it happens to us, right? So it's like it kind of fits perfectly in itself to think that the way lessons would learn could be like choosing to step into something like that. And I think if we honor people like that, we honor ourselves on that kind of mirrored quest. You know, it's much easier to think of unconditional love and benevolence and harmony, and remember that problem solving truly can come from, you know, a real place of connectivity and respect of sovereignty, when we remember that the person in front of us is in the simulation is a placeholder variable of Jesus playing, of God playing, of whoever you, Krishna, of whoever you, Buddha, you know, well, Buddha doesn't really fit in that, I guess, because it's more of a different thing, but, you know, special, honored individuals, are awake and aware and are playing a part in this, and their character is just much as part as everyone else's characters, in fact. I just thought it kind of like a fractal simulation exploration makes so much sense. Sometimes, of course, there's hairs to pull, there's things to have questions about, but it's really helpful and really comforting to think, as I see out my own eyes, as I live my day every day, that someone is with me, that if anything, I am with me. It's kind of like I chose to step into that game. I chose to make those choices of separation and to be on this journey. And so I want to play my role. I want to put my best foot forward and really, make my portion of the journey as conscious, as alivened as I possibly can, as full of love and awareness and compassion and forgiveness even. Forgiveness is such a reason why I love to say that Jesus is playing everyone. Or to have that Jesus-like quality of energy, of love, forgiveness, of healing, and of the strength of the true, telling the truth and being aligned with the Father, being aligned with this deep connection of before and after, and of heaven and of the Father. And even when you read deeper into other depictions of Jesus and other accounts, different gospels that aren't just like the regular canonized sort of Bibles, but the gospel of peace and different, Thomas and John, and there's different times that Jesus speaks even of, in a more Gnostic way, of a great Father and Mother, and of the levels of 7 angels, heavenly, 7 angels earthly, and the math behind it all, and this great orchestra, symphony of reflections of the Creator, different aspects of the One, the Infinite One, behind it all. And I think I feel much more enlivened and, empowered to be in my own energy, to really remember that deep, eternal spark given, bestowed by God, that lights me up every day, and that forgiveness is the love, is the support that I need. And since I've been given it, since I know it's real, and I know that it's the most important, crucial bond of the whole universe, and that it's already out there given in this eternal abundance that you can tap into and know and lean into always and at any time. Just you have to make the choice. You have to turn towards Him. You have to lean back and let go and see for yourself. And that's another thing. You've got to be playing the simulation consciously. You can't be playing from this controlled, frenetic state that is separated and divided and distant from the whole others here, because they're just a big reflection of you. You have stepped into this whole thing to make it happen, and choosing degradation, choosing manipulation or slavery, bondage, in these kind of uncomfortable, either like vampiric or these kind of bad ways. They're just improper circuitry, honestly. it's a choice. And I do think this, if we line it up with exploration of manyness and see choices of separation and other ways of doing things or not doing things, we can easily see how all of the many dots can line up into the kind of experiences we're facing in the world today. And have kind of always faced in this way, throughout history. And it goes again to say this sort of, maybe it's easy to fall into this archonic, satanic, fallen angels, fallen from kind of the heavens and cast down and living in this kind of taken over simulation, to where it's really the kind of the devil's playground place or something, or some kind of purgatory space of testing or learning, to where you have to grasp footing and climb higher back out, or out for the first time. I don't know. But there's these, it's a sense of an imagery of this feels very real to me. And to many others, I'm sure, out there too. I've heard others talk about it. So, reminding myself that it's a game, it's a quest, it's this choice. It's all based on a choice, and the mind really has that foot on the gas, the hands on the reins kind of. If we remember that this is a choice of wholeness, if you remember Jesus walks with you, or that you will, you alone will step out of this whole world after it's over and say, it was all me the whole time, it was just me, every person I bumped into, every face I saw, like the whole thing was me. And we have to sort of think, and people would say, oh, I'd never do that, I'd never be that dark, I'd never have that happen, there'd be no wars if I ran the whole world, or something like this. But if we remember the parameters of the simulation, where all different angles of archetypes, personalities, encounters, and scenarios have to be explored, A through Z, you've said you go for it. That's what you've said. You've said you wanted to try every other way other than the way that was given, that is the whole. Now you have to go around to the 99.999 and explore all of those other potentials and find, and still yet to find that they are not the best. Right? It's like, can we give up already? I know I have given up control on trying to make my way the best way, and understanding, put my hands up, I don't know. Lead me on the way and show me how to get out into this best current and way that is the flow and the climbing and the next step, and just give me that next one, please. Because I don't know. And again, I'll say, sort of bring it back to Jesus and all of this, and say that perhaps, like, if we think about the story of him, or if he was real or not, but imagine if he's a portion of the exploration, if he was a type of scenario that had a memory, or had this knowing, or this role to play, as an example, sort of 100th monkey example, sort of, or he's a glitch, who knows? It could be a glitch in the simulation. Right? But this sort of differentness, or just a different potential that had to be explored. That he knew everyone was a reflection of him. He saw himself in every face, in the leper, in the man who spit in his face as he carried the cross, in his mother's face, in every person that he looked at and helped. He could see his own face, and he could remember the father's face. And the son's face is so like a father's, right? Or even, I look in the mirror and see my mom's face a lot. It's, we see a parent, we see a figure, we see someone in our face, whether we like it or not. And so perhaps he had this memory that or the sight that could remember that, and so he really could forgive them, and he really had that capability to say, you are forgiven, you are healed, because he knew the wholeness, and also the connectivity, that really the vitality of energy and perfection that is available from the Great Father, from the Logos, from streaming in as a source power that runs this whole simulation that everyone's plugged into. And every aspect of the fractal person or fractal personality or whatever is like displayed through, you know? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see that and to know that. And then perhaps that could be what unlocking more of like sort of seeding the game or seeding the development of remembering that it's all been a show and a game, and are we done with our exploration yet, you know, kind of. And also coming around to respecting the abundant shades of manyness that just one sun can be, you know. Anyway, I wanted to try to keep this kind of short, and I don't want to run on past half an hour. We're at 26 minutes, so I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening to my random afternoon ramblings today. If you stuck with me this whole time, I really appreciate it. Love to hear from anyone, everyone, whether it's something that is like this or different, or perhaps something that inspired you to think on, or even if you disagree. Love to hear it anytime. Send me an email, leave a comment. Anyways, and thank you for your contribution to our collective here. We would not be the same without you. I really honor you. Namaste. Adonai, all of those wonderful salutations and blessings to you for listening, and to myself for this time of sharing, and hope I'll see you next time. Bye for now.